Run!
65 is a 2023 action thriller directed and written by Scott Beck and Bryan and produced by Sam Rami, of all people. The film follows two humans who crash land on a prehistoric Earth 65 million years ago and have to make their way to an escape pod while surviving a harsh prehistoric landscape and the monstrous dinosaurs that rule it. 65 kind of just popped up out of nowhere with the trailer on YouTube releasing a few months back, and honestly, I was immediately hooked from the concept. It was essentially advertising itself as a survival horror movie that featured dinosaurs. Dinosaur survival horror is an insanely underrated concept, and it's pretty much only been tackled by video games like Turok or Jurassic the Hunted or Dino Crisis, games that I have a massive soft spot for. Dinosaurs are just cool, and they make great antagonists for video games and survival stories. And honestly, I don't think we've ever had a quality dinosaur survival story brought to the big screen. We've had hints of those in the Jurassic movies, but honestly, it's never gone that far in those movies, and nothing else has really provided that outside of TV shows like Primal and maybe Terra Nova if you really squint at it, but even that's a bit of a stretch. So, to see this genre now taken to the big screen in a movie that's making dinosaurs seem scary again, and with Sam Rami on board and the writers of A Quiet Place, which is arguably one of the best modern horror movies, I was here for it. Honestly, the concept was even giving me vibes of the classic Planet of Dinosaurs film, and the characters' look and general vibe of the film was giving me Last of Us vibes, which honestly, that just sounds like a really cool match, especially for a dinosaur survival movie. So a few hours ago, I went out to the theater to give it a watch, and was it the big, action-packed, thrilling dinosaur survival horror movie we've been waiting to see for so long?
Unfortunately not.
Yeah, unfortunately, 65 is not a bad movie, but it is kind of the textbook definition of mediocre. It's a movie I had no real negative emotions or positive emotions while watching, and in a few months, I am very likely to forget about it. This movie is not truly bad. There are some things I thought were decent, and I actually was into while the film was going along. For starters, I think the cinematography is pretty solid in this movie. There's quite a few interesting shots, and I really love the environments that these were shot in. It feels like they actually went out into the woods or something to film these, and honestly, a lot of it looks very beautiful, which is really awesome. On top of that, some of the sci-fi concepts and some of the technology they use in this movie is actually pretty cool and inventive, and I was actually really digging it. I didn't really mind the characters all that much. I think that they actually injected enough drama into the movie to make it work. And the final point I want to actually call out are the dinosaurs themselves. Honestly, I don't mind them looking over the top and monstrous. Even if in a weird roundabout way, it makes them a little less scary because they're so over the top and unrecognizable. I do find the designs themselves to be fun and creative and kind of interesting. I don't know why, but I like the idea of a four-legged theropod dinosaur. I think that's just a cool concept. And there was occasionally a few moments where I thought the dinosaurs were able to look kind of creepy, so I did enjoy all of that while I was watching the movie. But unfortunately, for pretty much every good thing in this film, there's pretty much another negative thing to go along with that. For starters, I thought this movie just overall is very generic. The action in particular just doesn't feel that well done. Adam Driver really just needs to shoot the dinosaurs a few times and then it's over. Each action scene just honestly lasts way too short, so it makes the dinosaur action feel lacking. There are some big pacing and editing issues in this movie. The pacing can be very weird. Like, there are scenes that start and then basically end before we've had time to really establish what's happened. Particularly, there's a whole backstory with Adam Driver's character, and it feels like they cut out a good portion of that. Honestly, it just feels like something's missing from that story. And you can kind of tell that in the opening scene involving his backstory, they cut way too early in that scene, and it feels noticeable. On top of that, I just don't really buy Adam Driver's performance in this movie. Like, there are moments where he's almost trying to be funny, or we're trying to show that he is scared for the girl, and honestly, I just didn't really buy it. He's always just so almost angry while he's doing these lines, and it feels so odd and tonally off. So I didn't buy it, and that sort of thing also translates over to the girl. They do kind of an interesting thing where she speaks a different language than Adam Driver's character, so there's this interesting language divide, but overall, I just felt like there was something missing and that I didn't really fully connect with either of the characters, honestly. And all in all, I just felt like I had never really got invested into the story or these characters' plight or anything. It just feels like there wasn't enough time in the movie to do that. It feels like everything's kind of rushing to the finish line, and we're rushing through set piece after set piece before we get to the end, and I don't know, it kind of left me feeling like something was missing from this movie. And honestly, this movie does not do any justice for the concept of dinosaur survival. The dinosaur survival genre works so well because it is built off a lot of tension and fear that comes from these gigantic predators that are hunting you, and having lack of resources, or at the very least having a struggle to fight them off. But in this movie, Adam Driver just blows through the dinosaurs like paper, and it becomes stupid how easily he's able to fend off these dinosaurs. So by the end of it, this movie wasn't even really a proper dinosaur survival movie. The unfortunate truth is that I just did not have much fun with this movie. It felt boring, the action wasn't good enough, the characters were fine. It felt like for every decent thing in this movie that fit, it felt like there was another poorly executed thing that didn't fit to go along with it. All in all, it just really made for a mediocre viewing experience. I didn't have any overly negative or overly positive emotions to this film. I honestly just kinda didn't feel much walking out of the theater, which is pretty disappointing. I understand that this movie wasn't anything major, it's kind of a smaller scale story, and it did not infuriate me nearly as much as something like Jurassic World Dominion. But honestly, I wish I was coming out of the theater feeling more than I did. So all in all, I think 65 is pretty mediocre, and I don't think I can recommend it for a theater-going experience, but if you're still interested by the time it comes to rentals, maybe it's worth it then. And I'm gonna give 65 a 5 out of 10. It's honestly unfortunate that 65 is just this mediocre, and I don't feel that much towards it. Dinosaur survival is such a cool concept that I don't think Hollywood should give up on. It's something I would love to see done right eventually. As of right now, I'd say if you want to experience a quality dinosaur survival story, just play video games like Turok or Jurassic the Hunted or Dino Crisis. None of them are that great, but honestly, they're a ton of fun. And if you want a quality survival story about a man crossing the wilderness trying to get a young girl to safety, just watch HBO's Last of Us. It's like amazing. It's 10 times better than this. But anyways,